Hello beautiful creative friends, it's Belinda and I'm here today to chat about Week in the Life and to show you my Week in the Life album from last year, 2022. Now I know that lots of people are gearing up to document their weeks along with Ali Edwards in next week. I have in the past worked along with her process and created the 6x8 albums. I've got 3 completed 6x8 albums, and then I have another couple of years where I took a lot of photos and I did a lot of journaling, but the actual process of trying to create one of those big 6x8 albums for a week of stories just got a little bit too overwhelming for me. So I'd sort of pushed this project to the side for a few years, and then last year I thought I'd give it a try again, but in a different format, and I have to say I really love it, and I hope that if there is anyone who has been interested in this project or who would like to see a different way of bringing the project together, I hope that this can serve as a little bit of inspiration for you. So as I said, it is in a traveler's notebook format, and you can see it's quite chunky. So I've got it sitting in this little holder for now, but I probably will replace this once I have another one to go with it. It is really chunky. I used an old pocket page notebook from, I cannot recall the name of the store. It was a lovely Australian lady who made these pocket page notebooks. I have lots of them in my stash and I don't actually think I've ever used them for anything, so I thought I would make use of it here. They come with just a plain craft cover, so I just used some glitter vinyl to cover the outside of that, really just for durability more than anything else. But let's dive in. So I tried to keep things fairly simple, and I set up a formula or a structure, and you'll see as we flick through that the structure and the formula is the same for each day, which for me removed a lot of the decision-making processes. It also made the gathering of photos and the gathering of journaling just a little bit easier because it was quite purposeful and it was intentional, and I wasn't sort of just trying to cram everything in. So we start with an opening page. This was just, I created this in my Silhouette Studio software, cut it from a piece of white cardstock, backed it with some pink vellum, and then adhered it to the front page. And so here we are, we'll start with the formula. So for each day, I started the day with a full page photo, and I'm sorry that that's gone out of, there we go, back in focus now. Started it with a full page photo. I punched a whole bunch of gold stars using a paper punch and some gold glitter, and then a couple of smaller ones. This Monday I stamped with some alphabet stamps. I have a little star border stamp which I'm pretty sure came from a Felicity Jane stamp set, and then I just stamped these little label pieces using another stamp set that I have. So I tried to make use of some of my stamps in this project as well, because I have got lots and I don't really use them very much in my scrapbooking project, so I thought I would try and make use of them here for this project. I'm just going to tilt that up a little bit so that we don't get so much glare from my lights. So my formula, I liked to keep track of what it was that I was eating each day. So I've got breakfast, lunch and dinner. I used a Pinkfresh studio collection called Days of Splendor for this because I was documenting really deep in the heart of autumn going into winter for us, and I loved the theme and the color scheme of that layout, and I thought it lent itself really nicely to documenting this week, this very autumnal week for us. Okay, and as you can see, if I hold it up a little bit closer, I have added some stitching detail in here. So that's the opening page for Monday. Flipping over the second page, I have a full page here which has just got some small photos backed with pattern paper, and then I've printed off all of my journaling just onto the one page. Embedded within there, if I hold it up, you'll see that I've got breakfast highlighted, lunch highlighted and dinner highlighted, so that's referring back to the photos on that first page there. Moving over, some more photos here on this side, and then on this side I had a little currently added a little currently section, which is just for each day. It's going to show perhaps something that I was listening to, something that I was reading, something that I was watching. And if you're wondering why this space here is blank, and you will see a few blank spaces, we'll talk about that once we've got through the little flip through. So moving over, here we go with Tuesday. And one thing I don't think I mentioned is that with these full page photos that I opened each day with, it is a full page photo looking down at my feet from wherever it was that I was standing at that particular point on that particular day. So my full page photo, same thing again, following the same format. I've got breakfast, lunch and dinner again, and my stamping, the inks, I went through and I chose a few different ink pads that coordinated nicely with the collection, and then I've just alternated using those throughout. As you can see, this day here, Tuesday, had quite a lot more journaling, so it is quite small. The text is quite small, but I'm really okay with that. I just wanted to make sure that I got it all in on one page. Again, we've got some photos, varied it up a little bit. Sometimes I've got a full page of pattern paper behind the photos. Other times I've just got sort of a part of the page, and I've added some stitching detail again there. Some more photos here, and for this day currently I've got a watching and a reading. Here is Wednesday, looking down at my feet, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Photos, journaling, some more photos. I've added a few little embellishments here and there, not a lot. Currently I've got 2 listening tos. This is what I was listening to on that day. Here is Thursday. I think I was at a shop there with that one. It's breakfast, lunch and dinner. The other thing I really like looking at is seeing how my meals change. So on this week I was eating the same thing for lunch, I think, pretty much every day. Some more photos, journaling again, more photos here, and then a currently watching. Here is Friday, my full page photo, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Again, it's just following a really similar pattern, really similar format. This one here is different because on Friday I didn't have a lot of photos. So if I flip over here, there's a few photos here, but I really didn't have a lot of photos from this day. So I chose to enlarge one of the photos to go on this page, and it's a really sweet photo to enlarge anyway. It's a photo of my kids getting ready to go off to school, and then accompany it with one of the bigger embellishment pieces from that Pinkfresh Studio collection. And then, as I said, there's not really many photos over on this side. And here is what I was watching that night, my little movie. Now, before we get to the weekend, with all of my previous week in the life photos, I have always liked to dedicate one day to kind of like an around here documenting. So where I'd go and I'd take photos from around the house and just capture what they look like at that particular point in time. So I had done that again for this project, but I didn't really want to dedicate a whole day to just that because it didn't fit with the formula. So instead what I've done is I've still captured the essence of that process, but I've just called it vignettes of life at home. So again, I've just taken some photos of some of the details. I'll hold it up so you can see there, just some of the details around home, and then I've just added a little bit of journaling underneath each of them, just documenting what it is that I wanted to highlight or that I wanted to capture from that moment in time. So for this one, it was just looking at the pillows there on my bed, and that's the telltale sign that Ella, our lovely dog, has been making use of that there, which is her favorite spot to snooze in the daytime. She snuggles right down into the pillows. This one here, it was about the kids' pajamas and toys and things on the floor. Again, I tried to make sure that I grabbed something from each room in the house. I think it's really nice to look back on that in subsequent years and just see how things have changed or how things have stayed the same. That's definitely something that stays the same from year to year. The overflowing laundry hamper, I can never really get to the bottom of that. So yeah, I think that was a really nice way to just capture some of the little details of home right now. and just see what's going on in our lives. Then we get to the weekend and it's the same formula again, that full page photo. Here's breakfast, lunch and dinner. Some more photos here, lots of journaling for this day. Flipping it over, again, lots of photos here. And then currently watching, I watched Julia. That was just such a delightful TV show. Really loved it. Probably one of I haven't watched anything that lovely since. And finally, Sunday, my full page photo, breakfast, lunch and dinner. My collection of photos, my journaling, a few more photos, and then currently watching and currently reading. And then just some final thoughts. So I like to include things like this in lots of my small scale projects. It just sort of helps to wrap up the project a little bit for me. So a couple of things that I will mention. The first thing I will mention is that when I started putting this together, I did not realize until I was way too far into the process that because I had covered the outside of this, I'd lost the orientation of the book. So I actually put everything upside down. So instead of slotting them in the top, they've slotted into the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and just add a little bit of stitching to the bottom of each pocket with my sewing machine, just to prevent them from falling out when it gets stored away. But all of these spaces that are out, these white spaces that are throughout the album, I had intended on going in and embellishing these, adding some pattern paper and adding little embellishment clusters. And the only reason that I haven't done that is just because of the size, because it is already really, really bulky. It's not super easy the pages are getting bent at the back of it. So I didn't want to add any more bulk and make that problem even worse. So I have just left them blank, and I think that's totally fine. It's nice to have a little bit of breathing space across each of the pages. And I think maybe the reason that it did turn out so bulky, this is actually the first time that I had worked with a Pinkfresh Studio collection, and I really didn't realize just how beautiful and thick all of their papers were. So there is a layer of patterned paper on almost every page, and these notebook pages are not super thin anyway. So adding in the patterned paper from that Pinkfresh Studio collection, it did add quite a bit of bulk that I wasn't anticipating. So I probably will go and do this again in this same format and using a very similar structure, because this really worked for me and it really did make it easy to document and to put the book together. Probably a couple of things that I will do differently this time around. I might still use one of these pocket page notebooks, but what I will probably do is pull it apart a little bit and replace the inside papers with a much thinner paper that I have on hand, which I use to make my own traveler's notebooks now. And that will then just allow me to add more pattern papers and add a few more embellishments in without worrying about it bulking up too much. So that's it. That is my traveler's notebook of my week in the life from 2022. If you do have any questions about this process or anything to do with what I've shared, please feel free to leave me a comment and I will do my best to answer. But I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd love for you to go ahead and leave me a comment or give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me on my paper crafting adventures. I'll leave it there and I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.